There we go. So we're back, guys, with some more. We're gonna watch another Moody Science Classics. Give me a sec. Get some butter. Okay, good. Good. Moody Science Classics. Ah! Nope, of course not. Oh. Whatever. This one is prior claims. Let's read the back of this one. Just a sec. Wait just a sec. Let me get my other stuff running first. Just put this over here. Well, wait. Move this. Come on. Wait. Stop it. Kill it. I don't care. I just want it. Sitting in a world. Good. Let me just get this pop out. I don't need this anymore. Hold on, let's go back. Just be right there, just a sec. Wait, you know. Keep there, wait, we get that going. There we go. Now I have the other thing pop out. And this, and there we go. Okay, so good. So now, we'll read the back of this now. Wait, if I can put this away. Anyway. An unsuspected insect is lured by a sweet scent. Suddenly, the jaws of a carnivorous plant clamp shut. It's dinner time for the Venus flytrap. Long before man invented traps to capture his food, these carnivorous plants were putting them to work. In fact, many of man's most ingenious inventions have been borrowed from God's original design in nature. In prior claims, you'll explore the world of the trapdoor spider, the archerfish, the rattlesnake, and many other fascinating animals that reflect the inventive genius of God. And you'll see how the Creator has prior claimed not
the splendor and majesty of God's creation as you marvel at the beauty of the seasons changing before your eyes. This 4-video praise and worship series features scripture narration from Moody Broadcasting's Mike Kellogg.
Praise the Lord, all your nations. Extol him, all your peoples. For great is his love toward us, and the faithfulness of the Lord endures forever. Praise the Lord.
Also enjoy your favorite hymns and songs from the student choirs and instrumental groups of Moody Bible Institute as you witness the handiwork of God displayed
I have no
upon
idea if this place even exists anymore. Moody Bible Institute. Is that a real thing? Is that a real place, or is that just like a name they gave to like video series?
Seasons of Praise, brought to you only by Moody Video.
If it was a place, I don't know if it still exists.
Astronauts are
Okay, this
often
is exactly the
accused
same as the other one. Let me,
of not being able to express themselves
No, I
very
know
well
it.
when they come back about really what it's like to be up in space. And I think because when you look down at the Earth, the word that comes to my mind is awesome. You just are so completely surrounded by the majesty of God and His creation.
well, I mean,
How
kind of.
beautiful are your works, O Lord. See how the Master Creator reveals Himself through the glorious miracle of creation. Discover planet Earth. Be amazed by God's unique and diverse animal kingdom. And realize the
How can you see me better?
human life. The wonders of God's
Not really.
creation.
No.
Three award-winning
Not
videos
really, no.
that present dramatic evidence of God's creative majesty. Brought to you only by Moody Video.
No. Oh well.
The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim
Come on.
the work of His hands.
Get to the point. These things are long and these intros are long and tedious, and they're all exactly the same too. It's like they cut and paste every single one of them. They're like, nah, you don't need to actually worry about that. We'll just.
Mysterious. A frontier which we have only begun to explore. Marvel at the magnificence. Thrill to the grand detail. There is a master creator. And this universe is the work of His hands.
Yeah, the work of his hands, blah blah. Get to the point.
Join us for the
I mean, these are great on like Disney films when you had.
What father hasn't said to his offspring, son, build a better mousetrap and the world will be the pathway to your door? And the
I
sons
mean,
have been
which
busy
isn't now.
doing just that, thinking, planning, working, and they've built their better mousetraps. But man has discovered a wild thing.
Yeah.
And yet, perhaps the most embarrassing
Hi,
discovery
whoever's
is the
watching
fact
this.
that
Hi.
regardless of what man may invent or
Say something.
devise,
Hi.
nature had it first. Traps? Why, there are literally millions of them. Far more wonderful and complex than anything man has ever thought of.
Oh no, it's not. It's one like from who? I don't know. I thought it was a viewer. I didn't look at that. Oh, well. Still.
The similarity between a Venus flytrap and a bear trap is quite remarkable, isn't it? The teeth, the action. Now, the bear trap has a trigger right there. And if that trigger is pushed, now the Venus flytrap
Oh, boy.
has a trigger also. In fact, it has 6 of them. 3 on each side.
Okay.
But there's a difference. The bear trap doesn't know a bear from a piece of wood,
Go a little bit
but
down.
the Venus flytrap does. You see, to touch the trigger hair just once is not enough. Nothing happens. But if we touch the trigger hairs more than once, and at just the right intervals, the trap is sprung. You see, no energy is wasted on a twig or a leaf that might fall into the trap. But even more amazing is how those trigger hairs work. There is actually a flow of electrical current from those tiny trigger hairs to the apex of the plant. And when anything touches them, the flow of current is interrupted. A correct number of these negative impulses will cause the trap to spring. But the trap is also a stomach. The animal will soon be digested by the plant, and in a few days, the Venus flytrap will be open for business again. Some of the traps are passive. The cobra plant, for example, is a type of pitfall.
Okay.
Inert, but effective. The hood of the plant is a maze of tiny windows.
Ew.
These appear to the trapped insect to be a way of escape. In a frustrated attempt for freedom, a false step usually occurs, and the insect adds to the daily vitamin requirements of a carnivorous plant. Most of the pitfalls simply allow the prey to follow the line of least resistance. Getting out, however, is an entirely different matter. The tiny hairs on the welcome mat suddenly become spears that surround a prison. When an insect topples in, a pool of death awaits below.
Ew.
The liquid will put him to sleep and then digest him.
Ew.
Talk about your traps. This is a working model of one of the most fantastic traps ever built. Now the prey approaches, triggers the mechanism. This trap even resets itself.
Oh boy.
Now, can you imagine building all of this complicated mechanism into a trap the size of the head of this pin? God did it. The plant itself, the utricularia, lives beneath the surface of the water.
Okay.
Each of the small globular objects is a trap, much more complicated than our working model. The trap itself
Okay.
is so tiny that it will take a microscope to see it work. But if we're fortunate, we can actually see the plant trap tiny animals. Notice the guide hairs and the 3 small trigger hairs.
Ew. Ew, no thank you.
When the trigger hairs are bent, the trap is sprung.
Ew.
And when an animal gets sucked inside, eventually
Ew.
he succumbs and is digested. It's amazing, isn't it? No man can't even claim the symbol of his own inventions. Each new discovery reveals the more how thoroughly God has gone before.
Okay, fine.
That door, for example. Somebody had to think of it. Each day, we see doors of every kind, of every size and shape. But actually, none of these is quite as remarkable as a door fashioned long before man
No
ever
thank you. I
dreamed
know
of the
this
device.
is nasty.
Of course, this door isn't easy to see. The camouflage affords real protection to the trapdoor spider.
Yuck.
Snugly fitted into the ground, the door is lined
I
with
don't
layer
like
upon
spiders.
layer of silk,
Nasty.
a marvel of engineering.
Nasty, nasty, nasty,
And
nasty.
no less a marvel is the spider herself. For if in spite of her camouflage, her privacy is disturbed, she hangs onto the door with all her might. In order to break her hold, a pull of at least 140 times her weight is needed. The trapdoor spider is a skillful engineer that has never seen a drawing board or a transit.
Ew.
When the need for building a home
Nasty.
arises, excavation proceedings get underway. The spider is well equipped for the job at hand. Both ends work at once. On the south end of a northbound trapdoor spider is a pair of spinnerets. On the north end, a pair of strong pedipalps function like a steam shovel, digging the dirt and placing it precisely where it should
It's like
be.
the
The God that made this wonderful little
it's a
builder
saying that my friend said. I don't know if it's got from somewhere. I don't know.
when she encounters
Yes.
excessive dirt,
He's talking about spider. He goes, if you're 10 feet away, it's okay. If you get to my head, you're dead. If you get close to my head, you're dead.
The finishing work on the trapdoor is the surfacing of the underside with a fine silken lining.
I think when you think about some places like Australia where they have like
When the
spiders,
job is completed, there will
big
be
small
a
dogs are
lustrous
like,
coating of
oh,
silk from the top of the
yeah,
nest
no
to
thank
the
you.
bottom.
No
And
thanks.
the coating will be as smooth as glass and as soft as down. What could be more fitting after a hard day's work than a good square meal?
Oh boy. Oh gosh, this is nasty. Oh gosh. Even the roly-polies are creepy. There we go. I like it.
Expert calf roping requires the all-out effort of both horse and rider. And yet for countless centuries, the chameleon has been lassoing its food with just a flick of the tongue. It took man a long time to think of some of the other ideas we find to be a part of the chameleon. The eyes, for example, are mounted in ball turns, and one sight organ is able to rotate independently of the other.
That's cool. I always like that. I always thought that was
While
cool.
one eye is watching for an enemy, the other is searching for a bite to eat. When the tasty prey is sighted, the eyes work in unison, probably to improve the aim of the tongue. The skin of the chameleon is a heavy plate of armor, and it's not only tough. It's made up of an amazing cell structure that enables the chameleon to change color on a moment's notice. Camouflage is as old as life itself.
Everyone thinks it's so instant, but no, it's going to take a long
These baby
while
chameleons are just a few hours old, but already they're on their own,
to change
making
color.
immediate use of all that God has given them. From the tiny ball-turret eyes to the feet, the tongue, and the tail. Imagine something like this happening to you when you were just a few hours old. The baby chameleon is all a part of this wonderful new life. No formulas or bottles are necessary. When the tiny reptile feels the need for sustenance, he simply helps himself.
Two ways.
A grasshopper is a giant compared to the baby chameleon, but the little fellows show no fear. Perhaps they realize that someday a grasshopper will be nothing more than a bite to eat.
Foreshadowing is a get it over now. Oh boy.
You know what this is?
That's a...
It's a bolus. For years it was used as a type of lariat by the Argentine gaucho. But long before the days of the gaucho, a certain fat, grotesque little spider was making
Oh
good use
god, no
of the
spiders
bolus.
again.
Chances are you've never seen her. For like a great many spiders, she's active only at night. The spider forms her bolus by rolling up a little ball of sticky silk, which she hangs from the end of a strong silken line. Then she pulls herself up to a vantage point, catches hold of the bolus, and prepares to cast it at the first insect that comes within range.
Ew.
Since the spider is ready and waiting, let's dangle a tasty morsel in front of her and see what happens. A flurry of activity always follows a catch. But the moth really doesn't stand a chance. The spider makes use of a pair of built-in hypodermic needles to put her victim to sleep. She injects just enough venom to paralyze her prey, but not enough to kill it. That way, the food remains fresh,
And all it's doing is sucking the blood. It's not eating it. Actually eating it. So.
We've seen plants that eat animals, animals that lasso food with their tongues. But just as amazing, if not more so, is the fish that spits.
What's the point of this fish? Is there a reason? Is there like a... I'm sure there's like some sort of reason why he does it, but I don't know. Let's see what they say.
You know, the archerfish can actually shoot insects out of the air.
Oh.
Now,
For
think
what?
of the
They eat
problems
them?
he has. In order to hit the moving target, he must know its elevation, its direction of travel, the speed of the insect, the speed of the projectile. All of this so he can lead it just enough to hit it. For a fish to make all the split-second computations necessary to hit the target would seem utterly fantastic, wouldn't it? But the archerfish does it. Time and time again.
Okay, so it does eat it, okay. So there's a point, okay. Well, like, don't tell me he just spits it out for S's and G's. Just spits it out and that's it.
For a long time, man's excursions underwater were limited by how long he could hold his breath. Various devices have extended that limit from a few minutes to several hours. A diving suit with a complex system of air and communication lines, lead shoes, and descending line provide him with a cumbersome but reasonably efficient means of remaining submerged. Another underwater breathing device, consisting of compressed air bottles, special demand regulators, face mask, and breathing tube, allows for much greater freedom of movement. As a result, thousands of the more adventurous have taken up this exciting sport to add another dimension to their lives. But wait a minute.
Oh, not a
What
spider!
about this little creature? The Argyroneta, or diving spider.
3 spiders!
No
Jeez
elaborate
Louise,
equipment here,
disgusting.
just a bubble of air.
Nasty.
No heavy cable or descending line, just a thin
Nasty.
strand of silk.
Okay.
The home of the Argyroneta is unique. A silvery bell filled with air and attached to the stem of a submerged plant. No heavy door bars entrance to this silvery
So you can
bungalow.
kind of see me a little bit better now.
She has but to touch the wall and she's in. The problem is to get out without dividing the house into a duplex and stay out without drowning.
This is
This is
disgusting.
accomplished in a most ingenious fashion. The spider breathes through openings in its abdomen. In order to survive, it must always retain a life-giving bubble of air to cover its breathing apparatus.
Oh, this is so disgusting.
Yes, at last man has solved the problems of limited ventures beneath the tide.
Come on.
Apparently accepted by this strange family of
There we
creatures
go.
that move so gracefully through a fluid sky.
A fluid sky. It's a good way of putting it.
But we cannot help
Yeah,
but pause
nasty.
and wonder at the engineering skill imparted to this little spider that enables it to live a lifetime.
Just like I know someone
underwater.
from Australia and she's like, look, I'm not scared. I got spiders the size of your head. I'm like, wow, that's a little bit intense.
Looks like something out of the future, doesn't it? Actually, it's a very real development of today. A special type of binocular viewer that enables the wearer to see in the dark.
Called night vision, isn't it?
Once the eyepieces are adjusted, visible light is no longer needed. Instead, we can use an infrared lamp, a source of invisible or black light. As the infrared rays travel through the maze of optical and electronic equipment, they are changed into visible light. But was man first? Rattlesnakes have been able to see infrared rays for thousands of years. In a sense, they have two sets of eyes.
Oh,
The
no.
organ that sees in the dark is in a pit or depression on either side of the head. Dr. Raymond C. Coles and Dr. Theodore H. Bullock of the University of California at Los Angeles have contributed much to the world's new knowledge of this strange phenomenon. For many years, man has known that the pit viper could, in some strange, mysterious manner, find his prey in the dark. But how?
Well, let's find out.
Okay, you read that here.
Dr. Coles milks the rattler of its venom. Dr. Bullock anesthetizes the reptile. The snake is blindfolded, depriving him of sight in the realm of visible light. Platinum electrodes are connected to the nerves coming from the pit organ so that the tiny signals flashed from the organ to the snake's brain can be intercepted. These signals are amplified so that they may be heard on a loudspeaker or recorded on a grab recorder. And now for the test. The snake is obviously excited by the human hand. A warm-blooded animal has crossed its path. The snake can see the invisible infrared rays from the heat of a human hand.
Where?
An ice cube is of little interest to the rattler. Why? Well, an animal that cold would be dead. Lighting a match in front of the snake is like turning on a searchlight of infrared rays. The recorder shows a sudden, violent reaction.
Okay.
A piece of special heat-absorbing glass cuts off the rays, and the snake's reaction stops. Well, it took man a long time to find out how to build a device that would enable him to see in the dark, and yet the rattlesnake has been using his own for countless ages. Once again, nature had it first.
Okay. And the bird. Oh boy. They're gonna be like, man can fly now, but after the bird had it first. Something like that. Something to that effect.
Since earliest times, man has wanted to fly, to imitate the bird.
Yeah, they thought it was something like that.
Finally, after centuries of fruitless effort,
They thought it was something like that.
man has been able to do just that. But once again, only because nature had it first.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
And speaking of birds,
This one's pretty
nowhere
obvious.
in the world do we find a more interesting variety than on the islands of Midway,
Midway?
such as the fairy tern with its plaintive cry, its delicate beauty. The nest of the fairy tern is most unusual.
Fairy tern looks like a dove.
One egg, precariously balanced on a swaying limb.
Okay, is that a good thing? Good idea.
It's rumored that the baby bird is born feet first through the bottom of the egg. But once it gets a good foothold, falling off is simply out of the question. The fairy terns are quiet, quaint, and friendly. Not at all like the sooty terns who take to the air and scream displeasure at the slightest disturbance. The real attraction of the islands of Midway is the beautiful Laysan albatross. In the air, these birds are a beautiful sight to see as they gracefully soar on tireless wings. When the albatross comes into land, a good part of his elegance is folded up with his wings. On the ground, he's just a goony bird.
Well,
He
yeah.
has a hay-foot, straw-foot kind of a walk that quickly appeals to the sense of humor. The goonie just wasn't built for shore duty. At the ends of his scrawny legs are big webbed feet. Feet that are fine for swimming, but oh, so hard to walk on. The goonie bird's nest is one egg on the sand, and the parent bird will never sit on the nest without first talking to the egg.
Talking to the egg, okay.
Junior is a ragged bundle of downy furs, and quite a responsibility. Many hours of fishing at sea are required for the adult bird to bring home a satisfying meal.
You know, I have to realize not look at the screen here, not look at my phone, look at the camera. Or look at the screen in front of me. The TV. The camera is like
The
this,
dance
TV.
of the goonie bird is an exhibition never to be forgotten. It seems to be just a game as it continues beyond the mating season. The invitation to the dance is a series of graceful bows. When a partner is found, the elaborate routine gets underway. The name Goonie means literally a simpleton, and the dance of the bird is in perfect keeping with his reputation.
Goonie means simpleton. That means that the Goonies means
Flat have an even
simpletons.
more vigorous dance, and
guess
they're
they-
very fussy about the routine being just so.
I guess it's kind of. I guess it chose that because it was like, oh, these are all just more and more random teenage kids. Like, there's nothing special about any of them. I guess. Interesting.
When a Goonie takes to the air, it's quite a struggle to lift its heavy body off the ground. But soon the wings stretch out and they span over 7 feet as the albatross soars majestically into space.
Yeah. Interesting.
Man's curiosity is an interesting thing. Thirst for knowledge compels him to seek out the unusual. It takes him to strange and desolate places like Guadalupe Island,
Guadalupe.
almost 200 miles off the west coast of Mexico. What is it this time that man is after? What strange thing has attracted his interest?
I don't know.
Well, of all things, a sea elephant.
A manatee. Manatee.
Just a few years ago, this strange creature was thought to be extinct. The animals once were a valuable source of oil, and man had slaughtered them by the thousands.
It produces oil. Okay. Or no.
The
You
weight
can
of a
use
big
it.
bull elephant is a ponderous 5,000 pounds. He'll measure somewhere around 16 feet, and
Look at the
his
blobbing of
nose
it.
is really an oddity. It's almost 2 feet long. Somehow, a few of the animals managed to survive. And today, they're slowly growing in numbers.
God, it sounds like bad
The
farting.
elephant seal is plagued with a strangely familiar ailment. This ailment has been known to affect man. Papa isn't the only victim either. Mama has a touch of it too. And the baby just wouldn't think of being different. You'd never guess it. The elephant seal just doesn't look the type. But he has another ailment common to man. Believe it or not, he has stomach ulcers.
Stomach ulcers? Ew.
Even in the ridiculous case of the stomach ulcer, the very badge of modern inventive man, nature had it first. If a competent psychiatrist were to examine the human race as a whole, he could not escape the conclusion, in view of the condition of the world, that man is mentally, morally, and spiritually ill.
Really? You think so?
In probing for the cause of that illness, he might discover it in the fact that man is failing to recognize the prior claim.
That's the big thing? Really?
Now let's think about that claim for just a minute.
Really? No offense,
order
but like,
to
that's our
think.
problem here.
You must use your brain. But where did we get the brain? It's a marvelous piece of equipment. Is it something that man has developed gradually through increasing use?
No. Well, you're
Those
gonna
who
say no.
study the human mind tell us that no man, not even the smartest, has ever used more than 0.2% of of his full mental capacity.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
Obviously, man
They've
has
tested that,
developed
that's a lie.
his brain through use.
We don't use 100% of our brain.
The
but
logical
we don't use
conclusion is that
1%.
man was given his brain by
Something
the
like
one
less
who
than 10%
created
of
it.
our brain is being used. Like, no, that's a lie.
God has an
But-
undeniable claim upon your life by the right of creation.
There's even a movie about it, Lucy.
But
Yeah.
you know that he has an even
Yeah.
stronger claim? It's the right of purchase.
What?
God says,
Oh, boy.
you're not your own.
Again.
You're bought with a price.
Yes. Okay.
God bought us not to enslave us, but to free us from our slavery to sin. And the purchase price? The life of his own Son, freely given that we might live. For God commendeth his love toward us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Yes,
What is. Whoa.
and because of his
He, yeah. I
genius,
don't know what happened there.
he has a claim upon our obedience.
God has never asked us to do anything that is wrong, nor to refrain from doing anything that is right. He has a claim upon our confidence. No man can say, I trusted God and he failed me.
Some men would say that.
Yes, and he has a claim upon our love.
You know, I know what you're saying.
For we love him because he first loved us and gave himself for us.
Okay.
This, then, is the prior claim. Have you recognized this claim in your life?
What? That was interesting. Moody Bible Institute. Moody Institute of Science. Okay, so that's it. So I think that'll be it, guys. So finish that video. So adios, muchachos.